Welcome back, everyone, to the
Welcome.
Soul Light Collective. You're here with Diane and Karen, and we were just having a conversation about the way food, for one thing, but we thought it would be a great idea to come on and just talk about kind of like our own journeys with the way that we've been eating throughout our spiritual journey and what that has looked like.
Mhm.
And I was saying to Karen that so many times over the years, people have asked me, like, should I eliminate certain foods out of my diet? How should I be eating to have a deeper spiritual connection? Those kind of questions. So, Karen, you want to open it up with maybe just kind of touching on your food journey
Sure.
as how it relates to your spiritual journey.
Yeah. So I love this topic and I love that we're hitting record to have this conversation
Yeah.
because I think that there's elements that can help anyone who's listening because you and I have had different journeys. And I love that. That's what I love about all these conversations, that we've approached things differently and yet we've come together at this beautiful point together. Um, So my journey is fascinating to me as I look back at it. And I remember back in 2012, I
Mm.
found myself kind of like as a stay-at-home mother still to young middle schoolers, and like I'm not feeling good in my body, not feeling my body was serving me in any way. And I really reached in, I think, for the first time. And I was kind of like, and I was not spiritually awakened and felt like I was within my gifts and open. And I remember reaching in and like, what am I going to do? Like, I need help. Like, what am I going to do? How am I going to change the situation that I'm in? And I was shown a cover of a book that that I was familiar with. And that was probably like my first real vision. It's so funny that I think back to that. I'm sure there were many, but that was the one that stood out. And I was shown the cover to a book that I was familiar with. And this was back in 2012. So it's a it's good 14 years ago, 10,
Well,
12 years ago.
yeah.
And and the advice I got from that vision, from my higher guidance, was for me to stop eating sugar, to stop eating um, flours and grains. And I was in rices, all of that. I was dropping all of that out of my diet. No more bagels, no more waffles, no more cereal. It was fascinating. What am I going to eat? And went into a journey of healthy fats and a lot of protein. And that was just something that my body needed.
Mhm.
And I listened. And I think that's the most important thing about this whole journey. And I took off in a significant amount of weight in a very quick amount of time. And I regained my stamina and I felt in my body for the first time. I was using my body differently and not having sugar. I was just sharing with Diane that I stopped eating sugar and I stopped getting mosquito bites, which is fascinating. But I saw changes in my skin. I felt better. And that diet sustained me for a long time. And then in the middle of my awakening, closer to 2017, where I was feeling fit and appropriate for my age, and I was working out. Um, I was lifting a lot of weights, and it was just my body was supporting me. And right around 2017, when I really started to wake up, one of my teachers had said to me, "Oh, you don't eat sugar. That's going to help you so much on your journey." And I thought, like, well, why would that matter? It was so interesting. I was like, why would that matter? Like, I
Mhm.
feel better because I don't eat sugar and I don't break, like, my teeth are healthier, like my body's healthier. But I never thought it would matter to my spiritual work or my journey. And that was the first time it came up for me, like, oh, people eat a certain way. And then that opened up the rabbit hole, the floodgates of like my experiencing. And I started bumping into people who ate differently than me, and that works for them. And but it's been a process. We want to talk a little bit about what your supportive diet is and how that is working with you.
Yeah, and I think it's so important to share that there is no right or wrong way to eat, right?
Correct.
And every diet out there is pretty much the same. It's just a different combination of healthy fats, carbs, and protein, right? A different combination of what that looks like. And I don't like to put labels on things, so I never say, well, I follow this diet or I follow that diet. I really follow my intuition and what my body is wanting and craving and needing. And it's evolved certainly over time. I mean, I think as a child, it was, my father grew up on a farm in Iowa, and it was like
Oh, wow.
meat and potatoes, right?
Oh,
It
yeah.
served a lot in my house, even though we lived in New England, but that's still meat and potatoes and fish, fresh seafood, which I love, but I never liked the meat, the pork, the beef. I would eat it, but I just never felt good. And in college, I was a vegetarian, experimented with that, ate that way for a long time, then incorporated, chicken and fish again into my diets in my, I don't know, 30s, I guess. And then started eating primarily plant-based, probably, I don't even know. It was interesting. You said 2012, I think you said, is when that's when a book found you, right? Isn't
Yeah.
that what you
Yeah.
said? Well, it was 2012 when a book found me too. And I can't remember the name of the book or the doctor that it was by. But it was, and I had never done this before, it was a full 30-day cleanse. And it was really to just clear out all the inflammatory foods, to get really laser focused on what foods, because I had, and the reason why I was so focused on what I was eating, I had tremendous digestive issues where I would just have these, I'd eat certain meals and I would just be doubled over in pain, like afterwards. And I was like desperately trying to figure out the pattern. At first, I just thought it was gas and I didn't even relate it to anything I was eating. It was just like, oh, this is just what I'm supposed to do. And I was popping the Tums, right? For
The cycle. Yeah.
a long time I did that. And then, the voice started hearing the voice, like, you need to be looking at what you're eating and like how that is affecting you. Because I had the brain fog and feeling sluggish.
Oh, the brain fog.
The brain, and this
The
is in my
brain
30s.
fog.
This is like 25,
This,
30 years ago, practically. I told my husband the other day, I said, I feel younger now than I ever have in my body. And so I did that cleanse, and it was, I think it was like you had 2 liquid meals a day, just, like healthy shakes, no like, powder or anything. It was all
right.
like real food,
Pre-processed. Yeah.
right? You were just blending it. So you drank it, and it could have been, I think, it was either soup or a smoothie or something. And then a healthy meal that was like greens and protein, but it was eliminating the grains and the sugar and the corn and all that. Dairy, I've been off dairy for a long time. And I think for me personally, that was a big culprit to the stomach pain that I was having.
Yeah.
So I primarily eat a plant-based diet now. And that is just what works for me. I still will occasionally, when I feel my body starts craving like salmon or sardines, I will eat that. But for the most part, it's a plant-based diet. And that's just what works for me.
Yeah. I find, and it's so funny, I think as I'm just thinking back and listening, it's like I'm hearing the word prescription, the prescription that I was on, right? So my spiritual prescription that I received, the particular parts of this particular way of eating was that I was requiring myself to meet 25 grams of vegetables a day. It was unheard of for me.
Mm.
And that is where I found the transformation, because that was the change for me. And I'm somebody who in her early 20s had to learn how to eat through Weight Watchers. Like I had to go to I didn't understand how to eat. I didn't know how to steam broccoli. I grew up in a house where green beans came out of a can And that is how, and there's no slight to my mother for that. That
Yeah,
is how, but I had to take control in my 20s of like, how am I going to eat? How do I feed myself? And that was a journey. Um, and it's also like, and I mentioned that kind of like as a, like there's that layer of programming in there, right? I had to look a certain way. I had to eat a
sure.
certain way, having to learn how to cook for a family, right? Like that was where my diet changed.
Hmm.
My kids weren't so receptive to wanting to eat certain things. In fact, they wanted the fresh vegetables and the fresh fruit. And again, like we're learning and we're feeding our bodies, and the brain fog was coming in with that some of the choices that were being made in the household. And it's been a process, and it's been a journey, and it's been layered with some programming, that you have to eat a certain way, have to look a certain way, have to feel a certain way. And I think that once we're listening to our bodies and serving ourselves, like serving ourselves and serving our sustenance,
Uh-huh.
um,
Uh-huh.
it can change. It can change over time. And back to the spiritual journey, did it hinder me? Did it help me? And I don't think, personally, for me, I don't think that my way of eating hindered, but many in my community were like, you can't do that. You have to do this. You have to be eating this way. You're not going to. Like, there was a lot of, again, more programming coming in from the community.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating that we're all our own individuals, and our bodies all operate differently. We all have, I'm hearing almost like ancestral lines, right?
Oh,
like
yeah.
like my folks come from northern Scotland, Ireland, right? And that is what has fed the line.
Hmm.
um and not from an honoring place, but there's just like that Mediterranean diet sometimes works well for most people. Because I feel like this kind of like the biggest, I don't know, I'm not going to say that, but you know do you feel like your choices have hindered or helped you? Do you think that?
Oh, well, I'm thinking about, when my two daughters, I don't even know how many years it's been, 7 or 8 years, um, they decided to go vegan back to back within a month of each other. And they were teenagers at the
Yeah.
time, and I was eating a vegetarian diet then, and they said, "Mom, why don't you just drop the," I had gone back to eating some cheese at that
Mhm.
time. And they said, "Mom, why don't you just drop the dairy? Just drop the cheese." And I was like, all right, I guess I could do that. And, if I feel like I need it again, I'll pick it up. So I remember the first time we had gone to visit family, extended family, and in the Midwest. And there were so many questions and
Yeah.
such fear from
Fear.
them around the way we were eating.
Yeah.
How are you going to get your protein? I don't know how to cook for you. You're going to have to cook yourself. You're going to have to go shopping because I don't know what you're doing. And it doesn't, like, I'm just saying, like, it doesn't feel good to me. It's different. And I have to say, my family out in the Midwest was way more accepting than my family out in the East Coast around it. They were more curious, and whereas my family on the East Coast, I felt it was more fear-based, like. And I will say this, we actually got uninvited to a Thanksgiving dinner with family because they were too uncomfortable with how we were eating, which, I mean, this is close family.
Yeah.
And it, it hurt, that was hurtful, but it really made me tune into, I have to do what's right for me. This has nothing to do, that is their issue. This is not my issue. If they have fear and judgment around the way I'm eating, then that's their issue. They're gonna
Yeah.
have to just get over that themselves if
Yeah.
they need to, right? I'm not asking anything of them. So that was a big thing. And the other thing I wanted to touch on that you had talked about was just the amounts of vegetables you were eating. And a lot of people like don't really like vegetables, or they're conditioned to eat them a certain way, like out of a can, or like,
Yep.
and I live in the South now, so a lot of people eat, fried, everything's fried down
Yep,
here.
fried.
Not so
Fried
much.
and breaded.
Yeah, fried and breaded. But as humans, our bodies are primarily made of water, and they get dehydrated throughout the day, as we sweat, as we drink caffeine or alcohol, or just drier foods that don't have a high water content. And so eating fruits and vegetables, like it has a purpose. And it's not just because it helps our digestion, but
Right.
because there's such a high water concentration, which when we are going through the spiritual journey and releasing the denser energies in our physical and emotional bodies, we need that water concentration higher in our bodies. So the energy, so we have
Yes.
a higher vibrational frequency.
And that's such a beautiful segue, like right into like this, like is that spiritual diet required, right? And
Yeah.
it's a personal journey,
What is the
right?
spiritual journey
It's the
or
personal
diet?
journey.
It is.
Um, yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just so
No,
excited that we were kind of like
no.
switching to that. If you want to trigger a family with your diet choices, tell them you're not eating sugar. Nothing sends anyone running farther for the
Yeah.
hills.
Well, I can remember
Yeah.
going to like, when we were going to church, it was like after church, it was like the big buffets and sweets. Everybody served sweets, and oh, Diane's not going to eat that, and it was made on people uncomfortable. So yeah,
Yeah,
sugar
yeah.
too. Yeah.
And there you are, serving as your light. Like I'm okay. Like I'm fine. I'm not requiring anything from you.
Exactly.
And you get to stand as that beacon in the room, like, I'll have a strawberry, thank you. Like
Yeah.
there's
Thank
always,
you.
and
Yeah.
that's always been a choice. There's always been an option. Um, I've never left hungry. Well,
No,
maybe
me
once or
either.
twice, right?
Very
But
rarely.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of the children coming in today with allergies and food allergies are kind of pushing that forward a little bit. Like we need to start paying attention to the quality of our food, and what we're putting into our bodies, because I feel that their bodies are demanding a higher resonation of
Yeah.
diet. Like I'm not I took my children to McDonald's. I'm not saying, but I'm feeling like that is not sustaining these new light children that are coming in.
Mhm.
And it is a journey. It is a journey. And I know that all of my attachment to my um, low carb eating, which has served me so beautifully. And I love what I was able to create with my body doing that.
Mhm.
Um, I am noticing a shift to the lighter foods right now.
Mhm.
And I'm satiated with that now. So I'm feeling that switch. But it's important to say that there was no negative impact from the way I was eating. I still get my eggs in the morning, and
Beautiful.
I love my dairy. I love my local sourced healthier dairies when I can get them, and my organic choices, and those are my choices. But I've noticed in the last, probably since Christmas, I have a lot of chicken in the freezer that hasn't come out, and it's just sitting there freezing, and I'm reaching for the vegetables. And
Mhm.
spring is around the corner. It's warming up, and oh, I can't wait to get back to the farm, and I've had the opportunity to grow some vegetables, and that feels good now.
Yeah.
And like that is my journey. And so there's no right or wrong for anybody unless you're not listening.
Right. And listening to your body, listening
Yeah.
to your intuition. And aren't we just so blessed to have so many options, so many different things available to us? And a lot of people over the years have said, well, I can't afford to eat organic,
Yeah.
right? Well, I don't know if you have like Aldi and Lidl, these lower um uh
We just got an
price.
Aldi.
I love all the
Yeah.
lower price point grocery stores where they do, even Walmart. I don't really shop there, but I was in there the other day in their grocery section. They have organic vegetables now and
Yeah.
fruits. So we're very, very lucky to if you do live in the US. And I think even if you don't live in the US, you're privy to that. So so yeah, I think we just kind of end on the note, like you are
Yeah.
exactly where you should be, and trust your body, trust your intuition, and know that, yeah, like Karen said, there is no right or wrong way. It is a journey, and as we grow and change and evolve on the spiritual path, um, so are our needs going to change. And even though I'm really just craving so much like fresh juice and not really solid foods right now, I feel completely satiated and
Mm,
sustained. And I know it's not going to be like this forever. And
right.
yeah,
Yeah. And there's nothing like a good old roasted vegetables to get you grounded, right? And there's
oh,
that,
the
right?
root
The
vegetables
root
too.
vegetables
Yeah.
and again, feels very seasonal eating. We're coming out of like that heavy nighttime eating squash, like give me some roasted squash, man, and I'm out for the night, I'm sleeping and I feel great and I'm grounded in my body. But the sun's out longer now and it feels different, and I'm definitely feeling that shift. And it's so beautiful. And thank you to, Mother Earth for providing all
Mm,
this beautiful sustenance, however it comes to us.
right.
And making healthy choices and living the life we are here to live.
That's right. That's right. Well, thank you all. Leave your comments. We would love to hear what your diet's been like on your spiritual path. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. We would love to connect with you, and we will see you in the next one. Everybody take care, and we'll see you soon.